Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Welcome to The Ray Taylor Show, where I bring you the reviews on the latest movies and TV shows, as well as classic and foreign films. I'm your host, Ray Taylor, and on this podcast, I'll be talking about all things film and television. Whether you're looking for a new show to binge or want to know if that blockbuster is worth the trip to the theater, or just want to hear my thoughts on a classic or foreign film, I've got you covered. So join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for new episodes, and let's dive into the world of film and television together. On today's episode, I am finally talking about John Wick Chapter 4, as I've been reviewing every movie in the John Wick franchise leading up to this. This one came out this year. For some reason, it feels like it came out last year, but maybe it's just because I've been waiting. It feels like I've been waiting forever to finally watch this. Directed by Chad Stileski, written by Shay Hatton, Michael Finch, and Derek Kolstad, starring Keanu Reeves, Ian McShane, Bill Skarsgård, Donnie Yen, Shamir Anderson, and Hiroyuki Sanada, who was in a movie, not only this movie, but in Royal Warriors, which I'll be reviewing on Friday. But John Wick, in this movie, John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table, but before he can earn his freedom, Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into foes. I would say this has to be, I mean, the franchise is amazing, but this has to be one of the best action movies. Just one of the best. I mean, the franchise in general, probably one of the best action franchises. A franchise of movies where each movie tries to and successfully one-ups the previous movie, doing things that we've never seen in the franchise before, doing things that, quite frankly, I don't know if I've ever seen. Now, I'm sure a lot of these things have been done to one extent or the other. There are definitely a lot of homages and references in these movies to other great action movies, great films in general, which this one is no different in doing. But they keep going up and up and up as far as the crazy things they're willing to do, new things they're willing to do. The background story of it all, with the High Table, the whole assassin kind of world building that's been going on, in many ways kind of falls apart in this movie, or is at least like severely just kind of overlooked in a lot of ways. Like there's a situation where it's just like, instead of what seemed like a society built on very strict rules, just kind of throws that all to the side in order to allow kind of crazier things to happen. But aside from that, like, it does so many new things. The action is so cool. I could kind of care less about whatever issues I may have with the background story, the kind of scaffolding that's holding this movie together, giving me reasons, giving these characters reasons to fight each other, and for John Wick to constantly try and survive. A great movie. Obviously, I would highly recommend it. I would definitely, this is like I said, I don't know of a franchise, action movie or otherwise, that seems to just get better with each movie. And I love the first John Wick movie. It definitely feels like, and I believe the director changed, like the first movie was co-directed, and then from the second movie on, what has been this director. And you can kind of feel that, where it definitely has less of the grounded feel. It's definitely grounded, but there's things that happen. Like, there's no way John Wick would survive all of these things that have been happening to him, right? At the end of the last movie, being shot off of falling off of that building, he wouldn't survive. So many things, getting hit by so many cars and things. It has become kind of a cartoon, like with very grounded elements to it. But I don't care. I'm all for it. And it allows them to do crazier and crazier things. So I love this franchise, and I don't know of a franchise that has done what it's done. So many franchises kind of, they dip, they don't get as good, they kind of lose their way in some ways. Some are hits or misses. Where this one, it just keeps getting better and better, and I'm so glad I finally got to watch this one. So let me kind of do just my brief thoughts on it, and then I'll get into spoilers. But before spoilers, in this movie, a lot of the rules, as I said, and structure of the kind of operations of the assassin society are subverted. But it does things with the action in general that I've never seen. Right? Every movie introducing you to something new. The difficulty of many, if not all of these action sequences in this movie is at the highest, to do something new in the action genre is difficult. And I think in general these movies have done that. But even the constant one-upping and the complexities of these action sequences is it's insane. It's one thing to have a drama where there are long takes where you're following characters, many characters are involved. And it's quite another thing when you have long takes involving constant combat of people attacking your main character, multiple characters, kind of having all of those things choreographed in these long scenes, shot in new ways, is just mind-blowing. We also go all over the place in this movie. We start in the desert of Jordan, go to the Continental in Osaka, Japan. There's fights in the streets of Paris, so we get to go even more places in this movie, see another Continental, which is always fun to see how each Continental has a new look. And each film is so steeped in beauty. So much beauty in these movies, right? From the locations to the sets, these amazing sets that are built, just large, so many, especially this movie, it really takes advantage of these large sets. High ceilings, extravagant looking, the wardrobe of all of the different characters and how they look so different and so specific to kind of their characters, and how that is followed through the entire series. Just so much attention to detail in making things look amazing, in addition to the fighting looking amazing. Everything very beautiful and stylish, right? All of that reflected in the action as well. Just as much attention that is paid to the wardrobes of these characters is paid to the fighting styles, the way fights are shot, the action that happens within the fights, everything. There's so much attention to detail in this movie. It's amazing. There's elements of classic action movies, kung fu movies, samurai films, B movies, right? Along with the epic edition of Donnie Yen. Probably my favorite character in the entire franchise is Donnie Yen's character in this. So much fun. Would love to see spin-offs of just his character. Give me prequels, give me spin-offs, let me see what happens next. Easily could see him taking over the franchise if that's a direction they ever wanted to do. An amazing character, so much fun. So much fun and so badass in his very specific way. So amazing, which I'll get into all that in spoilers for sure. But absolutely love his character. This movie, despite being almost 3 hours long, I think it's a nonstop ride. It's so justifiable. There's a scene here and there. There's a poker scene that could have done without, but the director really wanted to put a poker scene in one of his movies, and it seemed like a good time to put one in, I guess. So it works enough, and it would have only cut out 20 minutes out of the movie, but I didn't mind the runtime at all. This is an epic movie, right? This is the fourth movie in a crazy franchise of action movies, and this one definitely has the most capital E epic feel to it. So having an epic runtime, like almost 3 hours, is I feel pretty justifiable. And also great kind of bad guy. Not only bad guy like the main bad guy, but also a lot of just kind of great antagonists that are after John as well. Because in all of these movies, there's kind of the ringleader type of a guy, and then there's the people that are hired to try and get John Wick. I love all that stuff. But let me get into spoilers so I can talk about specifics. So from here on out, spoilers, you have been warned. You have the opening with the homeless king giving like this monologue as he's walking through these tunnels with the dog, with John's dog, bringing John his suit as John's punching some post that's wrapped with wood. At the end of the last film, they're talking about how pissed off they are and how they can't wait to kill everybody on the high table. Right, so kind of an epic start to this, very kind of poetic start to this movie. And then cut to him in the desert on a horse, chasing after guys, shooting guys. And it's like the first time in this movie where it really feels like John is the hunter and not just the one being hunted. In all the other movies, aside from, you know, the second movie, or the first movie, he is hunting, going after a specific guy, and then kind of subsequent films he's kind of just trying to survive and get away. But this one definitely feels like he's out to get people. And the new guy, which I don't know if it's just because they cast somebody new, but the guy who John in the last movie cuts his finger off and offers his wedding ring as tribute or whatever. It's a different guy cast in that role, and there is a line that is said that he took over, so I don't know, maybe it was casting and then just in the script they put that line in to justify it. But of course he gets got, which is a great moment kind of to start this, to show like John is just, he's not there to play by their rules anymore. He's there to just get rid of all of them. There's also an older guy in this movie that has like a scar on his face. He's also got a finger cut off, right? Like ring finger cut off. So like, I don't know if he was the John Wick before John Wick. He's called the Harbinger. He goes to the Continental, and he goes to tell the Continental that it's being condemned, and they gives him an hour to get everybody out, right? And that the high table, we find at the high table, signed over power to decide the fate of the Continental, right? So all of the rules and structure and system, like the high table, has just washed their hands of all of that and signed over the power to this guy, the Marquise, who is kind of the ringleader, the big bad guy that's kind of coordinating all of these things. Which is just, you know, in the last movie, it was the adjudicator that's kind of going to handing out all of the punishments for everybody that helped John Wick. And now it's a similar thing, but instead of going through the system that has been in place and established, it is just signed off. And since they did that, like, it seems like things, instead of having to be processed, like just things at a snap of a finger, things can just happen. Continentals can be, people can be excommunicated. Continentals can be deconsecrated just instantly because a guy said so. Which is kind of a bummer, especially since I spent so much time really focusing, trying to understand the system that is in place. Regardless, Continental, blown up, not completely blown up. Structurally, it's still there, but internally, it's just it's wrecked, right? So the Continental still punished because John Wick survived, right? Winston's like, well, I shot him though. He's like, yeah, but he survived. So it just small things that are just like, well, that doesn't. They're just kind of doing the same thing from the last movie. Winston's excommunicado now. right? And because he's excommunicado, he's no longer a manager of any Continental. He has no need for a concierge, so they kill Charon, which is sad because the actor is actually dead, and it's a very unceremonious end to his character as well. Pretty brutal. The blind guy played by Johnny Yen. Johnny Yen? Am I saying that right? Donnie Yen, right? Donnie Yen. Kane. Love Kane. He's ordered to kill John Wick. Or they kill his daughter. Right? Like there's the scene, she's playing the violin or whatever, and he's looking at a locket. He's holding a locket that has a picture of her in it. So, kind of do this, or, we take out your daughter kind of a thing, and we find out that he's got a connection with John Wick. I mean, they're both at the height of their game. They're both the elite in this world. So, of course, they know each other. They have a lot of respect for each other. And it's amazing. Like, we're at the whole action set piece, everything that happens at the Osaka Continental, where John Wick, now his contract is up to $18 million. Continental in Osaka has a very similar glass room where they have all of the kind of warrior things on display, similar to the Continental in New York. The manager of the Osaka Continental is like a brother to John Wick and has a meeting with them. They haven't seen each other in a long time. Let's take a quick break from this episode to talk about Attention all Ray Taylor Show fans! We're excited to announce we've just released a line of exclusive merchandise featuring original artwork inspired by the show. Our high-quality shirts and biodegradable phone cases are a perfect way to show your support for the show and make a great gift for any fan. Plus, with each purchase, you'll be helping us continue to bring you great content. So don't wait. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com now and check out the full collection. Thanks for listening, and we hope you'll show your support by grabbing some Ray Taylor Show merchandise today. And now, let's get back to the show. And of course, as everything, everywhere John Wick goes, anybody he talks to, anybody that helps John out, bad things happen to it, as we've seen with the Continental in New York now. Like, it very much seems like a lot of the plot of this movie is similar in some ways to the last movie, but just a different, like, they're going more hardcore this time, but they're still going after everybody that does anything to help John Wick, that does anything but try to kill John Wick. And even if you do, like you're Winston, and he survives, you still lose everything. And we kind of find out during this whole Osaka thing the kind of the power that the Marquis has, where he can just instantly deconsecrate the Continental. Right, just things are done on the fly versus the previous movies where there was a clear system in place. And in some ways, the movie's doing a lot of the same things, as I said, as the last one did. But instead of the adjudicators, the Marquis, instead of the sushi ninjas that are after John, it is Kane, as well as like the high table guys. Like there's these high table guys that there's a clear leader of that group as well that are going into Osaka and fight the people that work at that Continental. Which he's the lead guy for the high table people, thugs, or the Marquise's thugs, whoever. Pretty badass as well. There's when that fight first pops off, he gets a arrow in his forearm. Kind of doesn't affect him whatsoever. Effortlessly avoiding attacks from the Osaka Continental Guards. And they have their upgraded soldiers, right, that are bulletproof. You have to shoot them in the specific places. Otherwise, it's just like it's not even like they get hit anymore. It's just they walk right through bullets. And so far, all of the other managers that run Continentals know how to fight. Like Halle Berry's character clearly knows how to fight. The guy in Osaka knows how to fight. Winston seems like the only guy. His concierge definitely knew how to fight. Sharon knew how to fight, but great fight in the Osaka by not only the manager but all the guys. It's very samurai-esque type stuff. And you see how Kane fights, being blind, setting up like these doorbells. There's like this cartoonish like wind up uppercut that he does. He's like slick and cool and just like somehow has this ability to be ultra precise while also clearly not being able to see. And then there's moments when it's not fighting where he's kind of bumbling a little bit. A great character. So much fun. The daughter of the manager, who is also the concierge for that Continental, she is awesome too. Kind of has like a squirrel running around, like weaving through the legs of the guys, using bows and knives, stabbing this guy as he's trying to climb up the stairs. Right, she's kind of like crawling up, stabbing him like 20 times. There's also great nunchuck fight with Keanu Reeves, gets these nunchucks, and the way that's used up in the kind of display room, amazing. And where John and Kane kind of fight each other in that same display room, amazing. Just so good. And seeing the behind the scenes videos for this movie, seeing that how that character was developed, Kane, how the input that Donnie Yen brought to the character, how he wanted to change that kind of character that exists in many martial arts movies, the blind assassin, and making him way cooler, and also helping with the choreography and kind of doing a lot of that choreography and a lot of the figuring out of the fights in real time while they're filming instead of playing jazz, as he likes to put it. Amazing seeing them fight. There's also, in addition to Kane, there is this character Nobody, who's this black dude who has a dog, same type of dog that Halle Berry's character had, and he kind of shows up and he has this like sketchbook where he keeps track of like all the other assassins. He has sketches of them. He has sketches of all the different symbols and what they mean. Like somebody that's really studied this world, which would be interesting to see if they put out that sketchbook as like, a fun thing that you could buy that is kind of like the encyclopedia of this world. Very cool. And in a lot of ways, the contract goes up to $20 million. A lot of ways, he is similar to the Willem Dafoe character in the first John Wick, where he helps protect John Wick because he's trying to get the price tag up on him. Like he's somebody that, like in the first one, Willem Dafoe's character, who's contracted to take John out, sees that other people are also trying to take him out, so they lied about his contract being exclusive. So to help John not only survive these other attacks, but specifically to survive those attacks because they want the contract. And in this case, he has a number in mind that he wants that contract to get up to. So he's just trying to help John survive to just get that money up, which I find to be an interesting. The character himself kind of almost doesn't need to be in it, but he is an interesting character, very unique. Not only having the dog, but also his vibe is so different, where everybody else is wearing suits, very clean. This guy is like more of a wanderer. Like he's going on he's backpacking through, the world. And while doing that, he's also doing these contracts. He's a very unique type of person within this world, but ultimately doesn't add much to the overall story. You also have Kane versus the manager. That kind of fight at the end where it's like he doesn't want him to do this, but the manager, being like a brother to John, not wanting to give up. Very sad, but a great sword fight nonetheless. And he allows the daughter to live. Kane allows the daughter to live and expects that she will have revenge, which there is a post-credit scene in this that kind of is her about to go get revenge. We don't see how that plays out at the very end, but would love to see maybe them see how that scene turns out. Maybe they are part of the next movie. Who knows? And it's like all of this stuff, none of this stuff would have happened. All this death would have happened if this spoiled rich piece of shit in the first movie who just wanted a car and killed a dog, if that kid didn't do anything, if Vigo's son didn't do anything, then John just would have stayed retired. But because of that event, all of these people are being killed. All of these people are being killed in an effort to kill John. The scene where the black dude where nobody meets with Marquise, wanting to get that contract up to $25 million. Well, he wants it to be $25 to find him as a finder's fee, and another $25 for his 401k after he kills him. Right? He's trying to get $50. I think $50 is the number he's looking for. And it seems like they land on $23 million. But then you have this moment, which I was not expecting, where the Marquise feels like a prim, proper, rich kid, whatever. Not a guy that likes to get his hands dirty, let's say. And he stabs the hand of nobody in this negotiation when he's trying to get the money up. And he's like, you can either take the knife out or you can remove your hand. Which, like, splitting your hand, which I don't know. That's so crazy that the trend of people's hands being split. I've seen that in so many movies recently. But, of course, he chooses to take his hand away. And it's a brutal scene, but kind of shows that the Marquise is willing to get his hands dirty. And is, willing to do violence in situations. So the whole plot, the whole loophole that he comes up with, that Winston comes up with, is to challenge the Marquise to a duel, right? But he can only do that if he is nominated by a member of the High Table, which he's no longer. His family, the Belarusians, have a seat at the High Table, but he's no longer part of that family as they tore his ticket in the last one. So he has to go back and patch things up with his family. Right, because they're a member of the High Table, and then if he does that, then they can nominate him to duel the guy. And if he duels the guy and wins, then he can ask for whatever he wants. Right? It's the only way out of this situation. And it's cool when he walks into the church or whatever of the Belarusians that it seems like he still has that old revolver that he put together using different pieces of revolvers at the beginning of the last movie. Pretty cool. So to do this, he has to go kill this bad guy that's wearing a fat suit, right? But which we see this poker game where he goes to meet him. And we see that it's not only John Wick, but Kane is there, nobody's there, and they play a pretty worthless poker game, which is not really a poker game when betting's not involved. It's just like, who's got the better hand? Let's give each other 5 cards. And, they progressively have better hands as they're showing what they have. Like, John Wick has 2 pair. I think Kane had, a flush or something like that, or 4 of a kind. And nobody had a royal flush. And then it's like, well, nothing beats a royal flush, but then you have the guy who's dealing the bad guy, the fat guy with the fat suit on, has a 5 of a kind, which is just probably the dumbest scene in any John Wick movie. where he's like, oh, I got a 5 of a kind, ha 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 ha, right? Leads to an amazing fight scene in this place where you have another like dance club fight where people don't even notice that there's fights going on as they're dancing in like these massive waterfalls. Like the set is amazing of like these like walls of water that that are in this giant space. So amazing. John using one of the cards from the poker thing to try and slit the dude's throat and then throws it at another dude in the eye. Pretty amazing. There's a moment where Kane throws a flash grenade to blind everybody, like, welcome to my world, bitches. Amazing. And, of course, you have Nobody's dog doing amazing things as well, as those dogs tend to be in these movies. The fat dude, amazing kicks. Right, it's kind of that Sammo Hung type of a vibe, but clearly a dude in a fat suit instead of just a big guy that knows how to move. Like they could have gotten somebody like Roy Nelson, like actual fat combat fighters, people that actually can do pretty crazy things, or like even Derek Lewis. That's a big dude that can throw some kicks and can move fast. So after he does that, to get the seal or whatever from the Belarusians, they do the thing that you see in martial arts movies where you have to like burn your arm on a hot pot. Pretty great. So he gets the duel, and there's the scene where they negotiate the stakes of the duel. If John wins, he's free, and the New York Continental is rebuilt and reconsecrated, and Winston reappointed as the manager, right? So that's what happens if John wins, right? He gets what he wants to be free, and also Winston gets what he wants to be back where he was. And if John loses, then not only does John die, but also Winston will die with him, right? So those are the terms. And there's the scene where they set the rules of like the time and location, weapons, where they're flipping over these tiles, these decorative tiles, which beautiful, fits with, you know, the markers and the coins and the whole world of this. But a very weird, and it's like they're doing high cards, so whichever one has the higher number, they get to decide by flipping these tiles over. And the Marquis, of course, isn't going to fight. He appoints Kane to do the dueling for him. And they choose the next morning. They choose the location. And no quarter, right? So no, like, to the death. There's no mercy rules in this. Let's take a quick break from this episode because I want to promote. Are you looking for a way to take your love of The Ray Taylor Show to the next level? Look no further than Inspired Disorder Plus. As a member, you'll get access to a whole host of amazing perks, including the full week of shows, ad-free in both audio and video versions, a live painting archive, early access to the many faces, members-only discounts and deals, a podcast back catalog with over 600 episodes. But that's not all. As a member, you'll get access to my personal blog as well as my creative writing. You'll also get the chance to ask me anything you want. With all of these benefits and more, Inspired Disorder Plus is a must-have for any fan of The Ray Taylor Show. So don't wait. Go sign up now. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and start enjoying all of the amazing perks of the membership. And now, let's get back to the show. So now the whole thing is John has to just survive to sunrise. He has to be at this place at sunrise. If he's not at that place where the duel is supposed to take place at sunrise, then he will be executed. Him and Winston will be executed for not showing up. Same thing with Kane and the Marquis, right? So it is now John trying to survive and get to this place by sunrise, which is amazing. Contract is now up to $26 million, and they have they're in Paris, and they have this radio broadcast that's contacting all of the. So instead of getting we had the system in the previous one where when the contracts get created, they get written on a board, and then text messages get pushed out to everybody who is available. In this one, it throws all that stuff away, and it's just some radio DJ, in between songs, telling these assassins, like, hey, John Wick is out there. You got to get him. This is where we last saw him. But it's insane fights. You get John asking the homeless king for a gun. He has this 9mm Pit Viper gun or whatever. Only one gun, of course. And he's going through the streets of Paris. He gets his muscle car. The car gets doors torn off. There's some car foo that we saw in the 2 films ago. A lot of drifting and shooting, which is amazing. Like, not only in the rave, but also in these traffic fights. Like, people act like they don't see this fighting going on. Like, everybody else in the world that's not an assassin is just going about their day as if there's not assassins just destroying each other in the streets. John Wick and the lead guy from the Marquise throwing each other into oncoming cars. The fight in traffic is insane. It is insane. Dodging cars while they're fighting, just absolutely amazing. There's also a scene where nobody is like negotiating his deal with the Marquise as he's kind of helping John, but also staying close enough to John so when he does get to the number he wants, that he can just take him out, right? And he gets the number to 35 million. Now it's up to 40 million. But it goes up to everybody at 40 million. So it's like he's not only getting it up for himself, but the number's up for everybody. So it's even bringing more people out. And it's all taking place, like, the traffic stuff, then it goes to, like, this old building. And John gets this gun that, like, shoots fire almost. It's like a shotgun, but it shoots out sparks and like leaves. It is visually amazing, and not only is it visually amazing on its own, but we then get this like top down, almost like video game look of John going room to room with this gun, taking people out. It is the most, and seems like to be a continuous take. Obviously, I'm sure there was digital stitching, but amazing scene that I like. Not only was the fights inside traffic insane, but now we have this like top-down video view of this crazy-looking gun that's shooting like magic fire at people. Amazing. Amazing. That whole scene is amazing. Then you have John fighting nobody, but he ends up protecting nobody's dog, which is one of many scenes where the respect that John has for these people, the professional courtesy that he has, knowing that he has an opportunity to take things out and kind of helps them in the very specific moments, and how that affects them and then is on his side is amazing. And in this moment when he's fighting and he helps save the dog, I think is that moment where nobody's like, okay, I can't, like, now I have to, I'm on his side now. But then you have John jumping out of the building and landing on this van outside, which is very reminiscent of the end of the last movie where he's falling off the Continental, the New York Continental, onto the ground, and just like, there's no way he would survive that. But of course he does. Not only does he survive it, he's like not done yet, right? He still has to get to the location, which requires him to go up this mountain of stairs. And of course, everybody's coming out. It's such a great scene. When he finally gets to the top, or close to the top, he ends up getting kicked down by Marquise's guy, rolling all the way back down that mountain of stairs, only to have to go back up, only having a few minutes left. Kane showing up, and knowing that if John doesn't make it, then he's just going to be killed. And Kane needs him there so he can have his daughter free. So Kane helps John, which is an amazing scene. Not only is it amazing, there's this moment where he has to pay John back for something. I forget exactly what it was. And he stabs him in the hand with his sword. And it's just like they're casually walking, and he just like flips his sword and pokes his hand. And it's just like, it shows just another aspect of how amazing Kane is, that like he has the sense of where everything is spatially, despite the fact that he can't see. And he's so accurate with the sword, and just the flurries that he does with his sword. It is amazing. I absolutely love that character. So Kane helps him get up. Nobody helps as well. He shoots the Marquise's dude, as he does. You see Kane using a pencil to stab a dude a bunch of times, which is pretty amazing. Because he remembered he can't kill him, the Marquise's dude, so he just stabs him a bunch of times. But nobody and the dog end up getting revenge on Marquise's dude for throwing the dog into a car and then almost shooting him. And then a great moment where the dog pees on his head is absolutely hilarious. And of course, this movie ends with like a legitimate duel, which is kind of the duel itself is a very ritualistic form of combat, which is very much the theme of John Wick, the world of John Wick. Aside from this movie where a lot of the rituals and rules get thrown out the window, it is very much what John Wick, this combat that's steeped in like ritual and rules and things. And in that moment, there's like where Kane and him are going back and forth, they're shooting and winging each other, shooting each other in like the arm or the side or whatever. And there's the final shot where I noticed John didn't shoot. I'm like, he didn't even shoot. And he gets shot, but he's not dead. Right? He's still like, he's on the ground, not doing good, and the Marquise is like, oh, I'll finish it. Right? His ego is like, okay, Kane did everything. Now I can get my ego needs for me to get the recognition for being the one who killed John Wick. Right? So I'm going to be the one to do it. And as he approaches John Wick, Winston reminds him that John didn't shoot. Like he wasn't paying attention. And then John is able to take him out. I think was amazing. Was amazing loophole for John to win it all, to kill the Marquise, followed all of the rules. Like the bearded guy was there, kind of the rule keeper of everything. It's pretty great. I was laughing. Nobody is sitting there with his dog laughing. I was laughing along with him. Great end. And then, there's this scene, John takes his belt off and like the clips fall and he just kind of passes out on the steps and you cut to a tombstone. Right? But I already knew there was a tux for John Wick 5, which doesn't necessarily mean John is alive. But there's also a moment where it's Winston and the homeless king, or, looking at John's tombstone that's right next to his wife's. And you see there's a moment where the dog, John's dog, looks over at something. You never see what the dog looks at, but it seems as though the dog noticed somebody that's still alive. And so it could be like a way in which John is having everybody think that he didn't survive so he doesn't have to deal with whatever happens if the high table decides that they're still going to go after him or whatever, just to give him another layer of protection now that he's out. Or he could actually be dead, and that scene with the dog is just confusing. Like, why would they put a scene where the dog clearly gets distracted and looks at something, and we don't see the something? We never see John dead, aside from him passing out on the steps. So I think there's a lot he could potentially be there. They could hand the series off to, it would be tough being called John Wick, but I would love to see Kane more. Would love to see Nobody more as well. Who knows? And there is the post-credit scene where you see the daughter of the concierge from the Osaka concierge going to get revenge on Kane. But in the scene, like the knife shoots out and makes a noise, and you know how aware this guy is. So you see the knife come out, but then it cuts away and you don't see what happens, and it can't be good. It can't be good. I'm sure there's fighting that happens. Who knows? I love it. Great movie. Just a great action movie. Each character, everybody had a very unique style to them, trying new things, right? The fighting in traffic was amazing. The top-down view inside that old building was amazing. Great new characters. Kane, by far my favorite character in the whole series. Nobody and his dog is great as well. Especially him negotiating his contract while on the hunt. It's had similarities to Willem Dafoe's character in the first movie. As I said, Kane, very amazing. Comedic, blind assassin, stumbling at moments, but so amazing in combat and so unique in combat as well. Unexpected deaths. Didn't expect Chiron to get killed. Right, but still, I mean, he's a character that the actor is no longer alive, so. John's death, very ambiguous, with the dog looking away in that one moment, right, like as if he saw his owner, so very much John could still be alive. The story took us to Japan and France, and took us all over. A lot of great fights in all the locations. The contract for John got up to $40 million. Initially, what was it, like $1 million in the first movie? Ended in a very fitting way for this movie, right? Great loophole, so everyone wins except for the Marquise, who I thought was a great villain. Right balance. They had a great balance of like being a weasel, but also being forceful when needed, right? Stabbing nobody's hand. Wasn't expecting that. And I'm excited to see the TV series of the Continental. I saw a clip from an episode that's was part of the special features of this movie, and it seems like that clip anyway was from the 70s. So I don't know if it's this Continental series is a prequel to the Continental, what it was like for assassins in the 70s, maybe when Winston first started as manager at that Continental, possibly. Either way, anything that comes out that's close to this movie, that's associated with this franchise, I'm all for. And also, whatever they come up with for John Wick 5, stoked for that whenever it does come out. And I want to thank everybody for tuning into this episode of The Ray Taylor Show. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on John Wick Chapter 4. Don't forget to tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for more movie and TV show reviews. And join the conversation by leaving a comment or rating on your favorite podcast platform or over on youtube.com/Inspired Disorder. Until next time, enjoy the show. Subscribe to The Ray Taylor Show on YouTube and everywhere podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at InspiredDisorder.com/plus. Purchase Ray Taylor Show merch over at InspiredDisorder.com. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.